it's established now that it changes, it has receptors, and it
Yes.
is modified as we live our lives.
Yes.
I wonder if it can receive, if maybe transmission is impossible too. And if it is, could that kind of tie into this 100th monkey
Yes, of
thing where
course.
we start to get from each other
Yes.
information?
So that's another way of talking about the evolution of our bodies and our consciousness through the heart energy, that our hearts are intuitive. And in the past we have said, oh, intuition is funniness. You know, it's someday we will track it and say, well, this is just because of an irritability in your brain that suddenly you have a perception. But through the 100th monkey conversation, we are seeing that many species, through pathways that we do not yet recognize, but can only say are at the speed of light, through intuitive, instantaneous information passed because of a likeness, because of a oneness that we have, that has to go beyond, for example, the beating of a heart, a similar heart, but something else, something that encompasses life itself, that as one recognizes this, that it becomes available to all the others. What's exciting to me is to contemplate that science says that if a butterfly opens its wings, that it creates a storm, and that the consciousness, the breath of the first human on this planet is still within our stratosphere, still within the ethers of the air that we breathe. If we could follow that possibility, what would it be to breathe in a Jesus the Christ, or a Buddha, or an Einstein? And to be able to select, to take vibrations in such a way that they completely alter the physicality, the emotionality, and the consciousness of humans. And that if humans had it once, because I would go way beyond Buddha and Jesus even, to the first civilizations here, which were beings of light body. And what would they be able to bring back to us? Not only the breaking of the bread, but the manifestation of all needs and the healing of the body, so that time would have its arc, and we would perceive ourselves through infinite layers of potential and history. And so that 100th monkey is simply the oneness that comes through light. That's what intuition is. It's an instantaneous, faster than the speed of light recognition. That instead of going through the reticular activating system of the brain, which is a point where we hold some experience, and then if something relates to that, it comes into our consciousness eventually. That's what happens when we dream something. But the 100th monkey is something where suddenly we are doing it because we know it. And humans very much need to realize that we know it and that we can use it. And as we do, we will instantaneously know what is happening on the other side of the planet and what somebody needs and how it is that we can give our gifts. Because we keep waiting for a doing. When you talk about the 100th monkey, you're talking about something that is genetic in matrix and structure, holographic structure, that relates to spiritual DNA. It has a structure. And we inherit it and we pass it on. And we don't just pass it on to our children's children, but because of our presence on this planet, we pass it on through our breath. We pass it on because knowing has a vibration. It has a pulse. So there's that conversation of what is a particle and what is a wave, and who's receiving it. And so we want to begin to meditate and to open all of the thresholds and the many layers of embodiment so that we can receive and then take that knowing and manifest something and give it out. That's called evolution. So it's a very exciting time to be here because we have not played with that before. And as we play with it now, we will dissolve death. We will certainly dissolve fear, which is a critical point we talk about the unraveling or the opening or the moving through the threshold to the recognition of what comes together, what pieces together, which is what psychic information is. I'm not talking about this kind. I'm talking about the kind of psychic, I know you're afraid because I can feel it in my gut. I'm talking about this kind that says this is the way. That's what the monkey does. You know, oh, here's a new way, and this will allow us to go on. We have that all stored right here. And so we want to begin to activate all of those points of reference to higher genetic encoding that will facilitate our evolution. May we all be 100th monkeys. And in fact we are. In fact we are. I'm sure that each one of you has experienced it sometime in your life, having a thought and then having it played back to you by somebody else who's having the same thought. Or I was just thinking about you and the person calls you on the phone. How did that happen? We have to give up the boring, constricting illusion of coincidence. Even coincidence itself is attempting to explain magnetism. And I love it that we're coming back around to magnetism. It came up in the 17th and the 18th centuries, especially in France, attempting to describe psychic phenomena. And we are realizing now that there's electromagnetic energies that are around and through form, all form, and in our planetary auric field and into the celestial bodies. And as we recognize that, we can see that chaos, that coincidence, is simply ways of saying, I don't know why, but something connects. And it does, and inspiringly, it does so through purpose. And we humans are at that place in the planet now where we're saying, what's the purpose of my life? What should I do to have a purpose, to feel a purpose? And pretty soon we're going to let that go. And as we let that go and we come to experience purpose, again, through a holographic connection, intelligence, 100th monkey, life as we know it will change radically. So thank you. Love it.
Would you say all of us are here tonight to get that moving?
I would say all of us are here tonight because we've already been moving it. And so we come together simply to have that little recognition. Because sometimes we have the illusion that we are separate, that our lives aren't working, that it's not going fast enough, that we aren't important enough. And so we need to come together and to look at each other and acknowledge that we are connected. We are genetically connected, and that is our purpose, is to learn that dance of oneness that humans can learn, so that we have the inspiration of here's an idea, we put our talents together and suddenly we manifest things that would have been considered impossible. And so it's time for humanity to release the smallness, release the struggle, release the impossibility and the loneliness that we experience, and realize that we are not, never have been, never will be, alone in our bodies. That even your body is constantly breathing out messages and taking in messages. And that if we could become aware of that, we would live very different lives. And if we realize what we're telling each other, just as we sit in meditation here, I'm sure that you who come here recognize that when we sit in meditation, it's different. It's different. We can be carried off or out or in ways that we don't often experience when we're home and we're trying to meditate and we're thinking about dinner or what I've got to do next or any of those things. But you come here and there's no next. There's just this place, and we are here. And that's one of the great messages of life. It's this.